big shlof, next morning you get up, it's not, so that's a tremendous tirah, you know. That is a tremendous tirah. You know, it's all these amazing resolutions, and you know, nothing really seems to happen. Same old schlepper that you were yesterday, you know. Yeah, by Moediani, he says, oh yes, yeah, it goes through the day. So the Eber says, you know, where's your Moediani? And I said, oh yes, Eber said, you know, I really meant good. He's a miller, a person who sees such an unbelievable stira, you know, he should complain to himself, you know, and he should say, oh no, that can't be, and I'm going to make sure that that never occurs again, you know. Yet we see the Book of Hashem, we all live very comfortably one with the other, you know, with ourselves. We all get on quite well with ourselves, you know. And we, you know, we're very, you know, medactic, that everything should be okay, and GAFNE, you know, and everything should be fine. You know, there's all sorts of good resolution. Manage to get by, you know. Yeah. Still continue living, you know. You don't really complain. So the Alter Rebbe writes in that Maimah that I mentioned, not in this week's part, not next week's part, but the parsha after. Yeah, over there, the Alter Rebbe says that l'choira, a guy should, you know, be going out of his kalim, you know. How can he live in such a contradiction, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that'll be fine. And even deeper than that, he said, we see that, you know, you learn all sorts of things about, you know, godliness, and you decide you're going to think about this, and you're going to reach the right conclusions, and you're going to look at things completely differently, you know, and you're going to notice Ashkacha Proteus and divine influence in your life, and everything. And then, you know, come how do they say in Yiddish? We left up to talk, you know, you live over the day, you know. Oh yeah, a bit here, a bit there. But you don't really look very much at what's going on. You don't really study things carefully. You don't really reach many conclusions. You know,
survival mode.
Yeah, keep going. So the Alter said that's a spirit of what you said. You know, you yourself said you were going to do this, and yet, nonetheless, everybody lives quite comfortably.
How?
With himself, you know. He doesn't get crazy, he doesn't complain, he doesn't say, how can this be, you know. What's going on around here, you know.
Yeah. When Mashiach comes...
Oh,
okay. Yeah, all right.
We're soon coming to that, my boy.
Okay.
Just be patient. With my class, you got to be patient. I sort of wander around the corner, but we're getting there.
Okay.
I said, well, says the Alter Rebbe, that's a sign of Emerson Goddess. That's a Goddess. That's the Goddess. Forget about, you know, the big things of the Goddess. You know, where does the real Goddess begin? It begins with you, you know, and with ourselves. Yeah, that's the Emerson Goddess. Because we, Yidden, we're the sons of the creation, you know, we're in Goddess. That sort of, as it were, encourages it, Chas v'Shalom, to use the expression, or makes it possible for the, you know, the Goddess just to drag on. Another day and everything. You're not terrible, you know, it's Goddess, you know. And Mamela, everything just, how do you call it, schleps and drags, and it's all sort of inter-contradictory. Doesn't make any sense. Mamela, therefore, comes from Rabbi Yochanan, and he says, oh, Yaakov woke up, yeah. But Yaakov Avinu Malachatchila, he was never really in the
dream,
in the Golus.
In the Galus.
He dreamt Lachatchila Elokut. He dreamt the Sulam and the Malachim and the other Sachen. He never actually got involved in the Golas. Therefore, Yaakov Avinu, he indicates the koyach of what you were just mentioning. He indicates the koyach of Moshiach. Yaakov Avinu is very, very high Inyan. At the farm, Yaakov, he woke up, and what did he wake up from? Says Rabbi Yohan, he woke up from his learning. He was really learning, he wasn't sloppy. So what does that come to teach us? If you want to be not involved in the Golas, and you don't want to dream, a real dream, and a very contradictory dream, and you don't want to be involved in supporting the Golas, what is the answer? The answer is to learn Torah day and night. The answer is to hook yourself into Torah. And when you go anywhere, when you do anything, when you walk in the street or wherever you go, how they call it, you're walking with the Torah and in the Torah. Right. And even if you slow, you sort of slow a little bit, sort of not so heavy, you sleep a little bit, how they call it, Torah dick. Yep. So that when you wake up, you got to build in, you look at the whole world and you say, wait a minute, man, this is Golas. This is not good, This is Golas. And so what do?
Yeah.
Complain. You say, wait a minute. Hey, Mr. Admasa, when are we going to be involved in this Golas business? You follow? Man, it all comes from being completely involved in Torah. And when you wake up from Torah. Yeah? Then you complain. And then you won't let yourself dream an ordinary dream where there's all these contradictions. Why? Because you're in Torah and you're waking up from Torah. Remember, you're in Torah, that opens up your eyes. And therefore you should realize that in the whole Zohar HaKodesh, the Torah is called by the word Oiraisa. It's not, he's got to drive me home and he's slopping. Anyway,
good thing you're sloping now.
We're talking about sloping. So Shiur is about sloping. Anyway, as Torah, the word Torah is called in the whole Zohar HaKodesh Oiraisa. See, he was listening. It's called Oiraisa. Oiraisa. So it's put down in Sforim. What is the word Oiraisa? What is that? It's two words, Oir and Yaisi. In Lashon of Aramaic, to bring is the word yaisi.
Bring light.
Not isa or also can mean to come. With two words, isa means to bring, not just to come but to bring. Oyer yaisi means that wherever there's Torah, it brings light. It throws light into the situation. If we're going to say that Golas is darkness, shlof, then the Torah brings light. And wherever you're all in the Torah, you're not going to get involved so heavily in the Golas, if at all. You're not going to get involved. And therefore, there's an amazing Zohar HaKodesh that's written not in this parsha, not in this parsha, but another 3 or 4 parshas in Parsha Shmois. It's written that Moshe Rabbeinu saw the burning bush. You know what I mean? So the Zohar HaKodesh is a very simple thing. The burning bush means that something's burning. It's, how do you call it? It's leviting. In Yiddish they say it's brennt. It's burning. It's alive. It's giving off fire. So Moshe Rabbeinu saw the burning bush. He was tremendously impressed. So the Zohar HaKodesh says that Moshe Rabbeinu saw that the getting out of the first Golas is going to be with the fire of prophecy, of Nevuah. You follow? And that was him. He was the fire of prophecy. But he also became later the one who gave Yidden the Torah. And then the Zohar says, and to get out of the last Golas, it's going to be through Oiraita. Through Torah. We're going to get out of the last Golas. And so that's what is written there. The Moshe Rabbeinu is the whole thing. First of all, he was the Novi to get him out of Egypt. He got the Torah. Once he's given you the Torah, that's going to get you out of the last scholars. In other words, with the Koyach Torah, we're going to get out of the last scholars. If you're really involved in Torah in a way that it's oyer, it's light, not just seiko, not just understanding, but the Torah is lichtig, it gives off light. That's going to take us out of the. That's going to take us out of the college.
Made.
And I want to suggest that is the Rebbe. The Rebbe is that unbelievable koyak. They say that the Rebbe, if he ever did, lay down at night, a bit of a slot, first of all, he used to get up after a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. He never used to sleep at one go, alone. Sort of thwack, The Rebbe used to have about 2 or 3 sets of negawasser. First set, that was first getting up, The second set was for the second getting up. He would sort of learn for a bit, and then he would just take another little shot, and then he'd get up again. And they say the Tzemach Tzedek used to do the same thing.
Wow.
Never used to slope more than a brief amount of time in one go. Then there was
a refresh a little bit.
That one he would try out, but the other one was ready. Then would the Rebbe was the koyach of showing that Aleph were in Golas, and the Rebbe gave the cloth, and he had the koyach to see that we're going to get out of the Golas. He didn't accept the Golas. He refused to accept it. And therefore he said, Ad Mosai, until, how long can this go on? He complained very heavily, but he gave all the Yidden the ability to complain, at least. All right, so we're not so much into Torah like he was. But at least we've got to, in the middle of the dream, we've got to complain. We've got to say, that can't be, I'm sorry. And I'm not going to allow that to happen. How can you be like that? Because you take a lot of Torah in yourself. You get a lot of the Rebbe's Torah. Get that in yourself. And even though you're still a little bit sloppy, but you complain. And you say, no, that's not. Zero. In other words, that you're already half awake, even though you're sloughing. You're already half awake. And then the ultimate thing is, Vayikatz Yaakov, Mishnotei, he wakes up completely from the whole Golas. Wakes up completely from the whole Golas. Because after all, the way we've described it is that the Golas is a little bit of what you might call sheker. It shows things that ultimately, in the light of proper balanced judgment, that can't be. So if it can't be, then it must be sheker. It must be something which is not emet. You follow? It's not emet. In other words, let's put it another way. Let's face it, what is reality and what is not reality? And this is where I come to the famous Farbringen that the Rebbe had in Tovshin Mem Mahei, or Tovshin Mem Daled, I've just forgotten which one it was, and it was Yud-Beis Tammuz. And the Rebbe made a famous sikha, at the end of which he said that Moshiach is going to come in and daven mincha with us. There's nothing to stop it. Moshiach can come in and daven mincha with us now. And there was a lot of people who didn't want to daven mincha. Yeah, even though the big minim began davening mincha, they said, but the Rebbe said Moshiach is going to come in. How can we daven mincha? And I know of a whole group of guys that they didn't daven mincha with that meaning. And later when it got very dark, they went ashamedly over into a corner somewhere in 770, they daven mincha. Yeah, Ad Kedikah. So the Rebbe says that, Mashiach's going to come in. So the Rebbe said that there are people who say about me, that's what the Rebbe says, that I'm unreal, As Lebnish in Mamoshes Tika Oilam. I'm unreal, I'm not living in the reality, because I'm all the time talking about Mashiach, and I don't face the reality, Mashiach hasn't come yet, so it's a simon that, I'm unreal. And the Rebbe said that they say even more insulting things about him, but he doesn't want to go into the... He's crazy. Yeah. So the Rebbe hinted that the Rebbe said he's crazy about Moshiach. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, what the Rebbe says, we have to decide. Oh, no, that's right. He said people say about me that I'm a dreamer, that I dream. I'm all the time talking about Moshiach. I'm dreaming, living in a dream. So the Rebbe said we have to decide once and for all in this world who is dreaming. Who is the dreamer? These people who say that I'm dreaming, or me. Who is the dreamer? You understand? Are they right and I am the dreamer? Or are they wrong? And I'm not the dreamer, I'm the realist and they're the dreamer. That's what the Rebbe said. So he said, what? So he said we have to understand what is Jewish reality. What is real by a Pashat Nishchit and what is real by a Yid is two different things.
Right.
He said a Yid lives with Elokus. A Yid's got a Nefesh Elokis. And the Nefesh Elokis reacts to Elokus even if he's, as for sure, not living according to Torah the right way he should, but nonetheless his Nefesh Elokis is aware of Elokus. So the Rebbe said, according to Elokus, what is the real situation of Yidden? Where are they really supposed to be? So the Rebbe said, you want to tell me that Yidden are really supposed to be here in Brooklyn? That's where Yidden are really supposed to be. And that's the real reality of the Jewish people. Everybody's eyes are rolling out. And the Rebbe said, no, the real place of a Yid is in Eretz Yisrael and the Beis HaMikdash. That's where Yidden are supposed to be. They have no place anywhere else. Lama, because the real reality of the world, according to Torah and according to Yidden, is Elokus, divinity. That's the real basis, and that's the real in of every existing inyan. And therefore, wherever there's Gila Elokus, that's where Yidden are. That's where they're supposed to be. And if they're not there, and they're not experiencing Gila Elokus, Mamish, Pepoil Mamish, that's got it. But would anybody say that Golus is the real reality? That's what Hashem really intended for Yidden. That's what he really meant. That they should be sitting at Chvaistut in Borough Park or Chvaistut in some other place. That's where they're really supposed to be. That is the real reality according to Torah. So Rebbe looks at everybody, everybody's saying, of course not, but it is. So the Rebbe said to him, Cain, what is Jewish reality? Jewish reality is Gil Elokus, Kohoy Hashem L'melech al Kol Ha'oret, Beis HaMikdash, everything is bottled to Elokus. That's Jewish reality. That's the real. That's what's real. And then if you're in that, and whatever you see, you don't have to complain. Because that's not a dream. That's reality. I said, you're in, it's not like that. Rahman in Islam. No, you're in a state of Golus. Then what happens? You see all sorts of things that can't be, and then nonetheless you put up with it.
Does that mean that, I don't know, does that mean that if Golus is a dream and we don't complain, then when Mashiach comes I will be awake, we're going to complain? When Mashiach comes we're going to complain? No. Because we're awake.
We're not going to complain. Oh. So we will complain when Mashiach comes. But not the way we complain now. We will say to Mashiach, I heard it from the Rabbi. I heard this also from the Rabbi. When Mashiach will come to Chassidim, we'll go out to Mashiach, and they'll say, listen Mashiach, Shalom Aleichem, it's wonderful you're here, this is amazing.
We're waiting for you.
Give a course in the whole world, and this is wonderful. But what's with Shalom Aleichem now? Soma l'chol.
And soul is thirsty.
Okay. Now everything's bekoli and everything's where's the thirst? And they offer Moshiach Elochaim. So the Rebbe says that Melech HaMoshiach will say, yeah, you guys have got a point. And he'll say, for you who've asked for it, he said, I will make sure that even now there's Gil Elokus everywhere, you guys are not going to lose your Toma L'chonav. You'll still have the Toma. You ask what that is?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's the best.
That's amazing. Oh, Amir, if he said, there's going to be Gil Elokus all over, all the tzaddikim, everybody going to be sitting and being there, Ziva, Shechina, the whole thing. And what are the Chabadniks going to do? They're going to drive around with tanks. Amongst all the Gil Elokus, and they're going to say, listen, people, don't be satisfied, Don't be satisfied. This is only, Pnimius Ak, this is Chitonius Atik or something. We want Atzmas, Mailumi Pnimius Ak, Mailumi chaps. Yeah, that's what we want.
Pnimius of Ak.
Demand your rights, That's after there'll be Gil Elokus laid on everywhere. But, so that's what Mashiach promised to Hasidim. But auch upon him, talking now in a general way, what is reality and what is not. So the Rebbe, after the whole discussion, after he brings down the Alter Rebbe there in Pasha Vayetze, what he says about the Golas, the Rebbe says, Im Kain, who is right? Who is a realist and who is an unrealist? Yeah, the Rebbe said, am I the unrealist or am I the realist? That's what he says at the Fabring. He said, Elamai, Moshiach is the real reality. And we're only asking if we want to go back. We don't want to slough anymore. we don't want to be in this Golas business. We want to be back into real awakenedness. And we want to be aware of Elokus, and we don't want to have to complain and say that can't be. Understand? And we don't want to live in such a way that we see that we contradict our own selves. We want to be able to say, oh, Zeh, Hashem kivinu loy, no gilu v'nismacho b'ishu osai. That's what we want to say. And that will be, then there won't be any more dream. Vayikat Yaakov mishnosei. Is that what Yaakov Avinu at the shlof? Because he had to indicate that before you realize what's really going on, you're going to be in a shlof. You follow? Before you realize the base of Migdash and everything, you're going to be, and the shlof is the Golas. But you're going to be Vayikat Yaakov mishnosei. You're going to wake up. Through the koich of the Torah, and once you wake up, no more Golas anymore. Why? Because you're waking up means that you wake up and you realize what is the real reality. And so when you realize what is the real reality, he said that's what we want. And that's what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said, we can't wait anymore. Yidden have been, Wagnerans, how do you say, draying around. In his Golas now for thousands of years, Ad Mosai, finished. Let's have the real reality. And then Yin will flourish and they'll know what is the real reality. And by one for bringing, I saw the Rebbe go like this, and he said, Ad Mosai, it's just so mind-blowing, the way he shouted, he said, Ad Mosai, 3 times. Like that. People just completely. Then will be all the things. Ein zeh ki im beis elokim, v'zeh shar shamayim, all be makuyim in front of us, and we'll see Elokus. Will be sechazena einenu. Why? Because we'll be back inside the emissary. Yeah, the emissariality won't be in a cholim. We won't be in a shlof. We'll be in the emissariality, and that's what's written by Yikat Yaakov Mishnosa. He had to wake up out of the whole. He wasn't lechatchila in it, but he had to show all the Yidden from all the generations what is the way. The way is you got to wake up out of the Golas. You understand? And that's the Rebbe. The Rebbe is the Amos of Yaakov Avinu. And therefore the Rebbe says, Ad Mosai, enough dreaming, enough schlopping, and therefore on some of the tanks in America they have written the motto, "Wake up Yidden from the dream of God." Have you seen it? There's even a little niggun. Wake up Yidden from the dream of God. You know how it goes. It's wake up Yidden from the dream of God. That's what's hidden in these words. Take him yad mami. It should be, how do they say the Russians? I don't speak very good Russian, but they say Dalyo or something, or Dalyo Goddess. Finish. No more. Finish Goddess. Oh, finish Goddess. Oh, then a completely new reality. Oh, man, Cain Yerotzen, and take him yad mami.
Amen.
The way to it is simple. The way to it is genuine simple. There may be reasons, to be a bit upset, but you can't allow them to go on. You got to put it aside and just be pacific. Follow? That's one way. Just be pacific.